Question. I am stuck at the oddest place, the inciting incident in my story. I have 7 chapters after it and 3 before it. Why would a large medieval kingdom go to war with the rest of the nation on the continent? My antagonist is a demon-possessed queen who has recently overthrown a dynasty. I need a realistic reason to go start a war that isn't cliche. I am the queen and I say to war. So the question itself that he has is not what I want to talk about in the video, because the question here is, how do you choose an inciting incident after you've already written some story before and after the inciting incident? The situation is you've started to build a machine before you've decided what you want the machine to do. It can be a bit difficult to open the nuts and bolts and plug in an exact part that you need, because you're supposed to be building around that part. So my solution here, if you want to stop and read it, is that you've got to look for a theme within what you've already written. This is if, again, you've written a little bit of story before and after where an inciting incident should be, which is, let's say, you're 0 to, on average, about 30% to 40% into a book, and you're trying to figure out what your inciting incident should be. So you need to look at the thematic reasons why everything is happening in your story and the themes around your character arcs. Why are your characters doing what they do? What are your characters doing? Is it oppression that's the problem? Is it famine? Or whatever it is, you need to find something that is overarching, that covers the overall character arcs and struggles, and also the conflicts and things that people are dealing with in the actual chapters that you've already written. When you find that theme, then you can decide, okay, around that theme, say famine or something similar, then you can decide why your queen goes to war. It'll be something along the lines of, the people on the other side of the border have food. We don't. So we're going to go take their food. Ideally, you want to know what your story is about for the most part in terms of your conflict, your inciting incident. You're going to build your story around that. Even if you're a pantser, you have an idea what your story is about before you start. And even if you are going to discover, you look far enough to know what's the big thing that's going to go wrong, at least before you write beyond it. And if you do write without figuring out what your inciting incident is going to be, and you have something that's going on, but there's no clear why or rhyme or reason, or it's not hitting, it just feels weak, that inciting incident needs to have congruency with the rest of the story, and you need to do what I just explained. You need to look at the themes for why everything is happening and make the inciting incident align with that. And if your inciting incident isn't as clear as why do we go to war, you need to design the actual incident that happens so that it aligns with whatever the theme is. So it's famine. Perhaps there was food and a swarm of locusts ravage it all just before the harvest. That is an inciting incident. And if you want to make it more compelling, rather than a force of nature like that, you'd have a villain be the cause of it. Those locusts would normally ravage an uninhabited area, but a villain has done something and has caused these locusts to now come here. And of course, you can even have more things build up from that, where the ecosystem that normally has these locusts, no longer are those locusts consuming those things. Now something else is going to consume that and destroy that ecosystem. So if you have inciting incident first, you get all of these other things growing out of it naturally, which is why I say it's a little difficult to do it after the fact when you've already got story written, because what you end up doing is most likely end up rewriting all of it. Which is not a bad thing. That's part of the pantsing process. Okay, so what about these guys? I'm planning to read the story for YouTube and Patreon. So let's read 2 paragraphs. Chapter 1, A Rad Wave is Coming. This is Raleigh, by the way. I've not done the color yet. He'll be rendered to this level pretty soon. Raleigh sprinted at the blitzing pace of a shielder in training, leaving the university security in his dust. The speed gave away that he attended the school and defeated the purpose of the balaclava covering his face, but 10 hulking guards on his tail gave him little choice. Yes, he might have taken something he shouldn't have. He was well aware that was theft. The security screaming, "Stop, thief," was a dead giveaway. But sudden forbidden elixirs needed testing, especially when it could save lives. Nothing was more important than protecting the family and friends Raleigh still had. Okay, that was a very short introduction. I think I'll do a pilot scene. We'll do the whole first scene, or maybe whole first chapter. And yeah, so this talk about inciting incidents, a little introduction to me, Iris Naidu, my writing, and character. Since I'm going to be focusing on character design, visual and story, a lot of writing and art stuff fall out of that scope. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to talk about it. It's just I'm not going to focus on it. In my course, the course and the mentorship both touch on this. They will give you tips on the direction to go for each of these things. In the mentorship, if my students want to go further, learn how to fully develop a world and a plot with twists and go that deep, we do that. But overall, these are the elements that are important to a story and characters that are not actual character design. For writers, place is world building. And for artists, that's backgrounds and the kind of thematic things that you would place behind your characters. For plot, for writers, it's plot. It's what happens to your characters and the decisions they make and the twists and the obstacles they face. For artists, that's their backstory and the lore behind their world. Then there's prose. For writers, that's what I just read to you. It's the paragraph by paragraph story. And for artists, that will be the captions that describe your characters, small write-ups, and maybe on your website, you've got your character's introduction. That would be prose for artists. And POV. For writers, POV is first person, third person limited, and third person omniscient. And artists, it's perspective. 1 point perspective, 2 point, 3 point, etc. Okay, so this video ended up being denser than I expected. But yeah, this is a nice hi. My name is Reese. Nice to meet you. Cheers.